Before we start the show, I just want to know, have you gone to TrillMBA.com and gotten your copy of the 3-step surefire method to ask for help without getting dinged? Have you got your copy yet? Well, if you haven't, you need to. Let me tell you about Julia. Julia writes, so my review went very well. I've only been in the role for 6 months, so I definitely need help. I used the information on inquiring about leadership style and expectations. I gained so much insight on my boss and how to slay my role. Until that podcast, I would have never thought to ask for help. I would have just thugged it out, but she was impressed and I felt motivated and empowered. Listen, you guys, there is no need for you to thug out your role. All you have to do is go to TrillMBA.com and sign up to get the 3-step surefire method to ask for help without getting dinged. So go forth and prosper, and let's start the show. Welcome to the Trill MBA Show. I'm your host, Felicia Ann Rose Enuha, aka the Trillest MBA you will ever know. And I'm here to help you survive and thrive in corporate America by giving you the truth and being as real as only I can be. Happy Sunday. Happy Mother's Day. Especially happy Mother's Day to all the corporate warrior moms out there. You got this, girl. Keep doing it. And in fact, this show is for you today. All the month of May, I've been focused on giving you tips, tricks, tactics, and strategies to manage your career while you are side hustling. And yes, moms, you too can side hustle. I don't want to see you leave corporate America, but look, I get it. So many of us are entrepreneurs at heart, and we need to see that through. And we all have to honor the gifts that we've been given. So my goal for this episode is to inspire you to not just get by in your career while you are side hustling, but to thrive in your career until your side hustle takes you to that transition where you're a full-time entrepreneur. Today, I have a very special guest. And you know, I only fucks with the real ones, okay? So today, my guest is Timika Downs. Timika Downs is a wife, mother, business owner, and registered nurse. So yes, y'all, she does it all. From 9 to 5 to 5 to 9, and then all night long, she's busy. She is booked to capacity. She serves as the owner of the Reluctant Frugalist blog, where she discusses personal finance topics ranging from how to prepare for retirement to how to deliver financial education to your children. She is also the owner of the FIRX podcast, which focuses on achieving financial independence beginning at any starting point. It's never too late, you guys. Her mission is to inspire and encourage families of all sizes and demographics to achieve financial independence by teaching them to become debt-free, build wealth, and increase their incomes. Hallelujah, do the Lord's work. Timika paid off nearly $100K in student loans, paid off all consumer debt, and then grew a 6-figure business while working a full-time job and managing her family. By the way, she got 3 kids, like Beyonce, y'all. She out here being a boss. From business to blogging, she is always focused on creating systems that allow her to balance her financial pursuits while spending quality time with her husband and her 3 children. Timika, girl, welcome to the show, and thank you for taking time to talk to me today.
Oh my goodness.
How?
You know,
how
so many
Jesus?
people don't know what goes into creating a podcast, but a podcast is like a little piece of art. And every time you put your energy into it, it's like creating a painting. And so you just put all of your energy into it. I love that intro and I love what you're creating. And I'm so happy to be here. This very special Mother's Day episode.
Yes. My goal this episode is for you to share your story and let all the working moms know that they too can do it. Just like, I don't know if you've seen Homecoming. First of all, are you a Beyonce fan? Okay. So see, this is why I told y'all I only F's with the real ones. Okay. So at the end, Beyonce says, if my country ass can do it, they can too. And that has been my inspiration for everything. It's like Beyonce said I could do it too. I'm going to be out here working hard. And so I want all the moms to see you, somebody who, isn't this superstar with her 11 million kids and team of people though, right? Mm-hmm. But to see you, somebody who is building and in the process of building and seeing success and being successful. And that's achievable. It's so very achievable. It's not like having to put on this whole Coachella thing. It's actually like, hey, you too can do this. And that's what I love about your story. And so my first question for you is, in all the work that you do, what I see is that you are providing a service or helping people. I see that as you being a nurse. This business is focused on helping parents treat their children, when they have lice, right? So that's a need. You work in the public school system. Like everything you do, you have this podcast that teaches people how to achieve financial independence, which is so critical now in this society that we're living in today. And then you have a blog where you discuss these topics and help people to prepare for retirement, because our generation ain't gonna be no Social Security for us, right? So with that spirit of giving and helping, how did you get here? Like, where did you come from?
Well, from a young age, it was apparent that I definitely have a big, big heart. If a friend was sad or crying, I might shed a tear too as a little kid. So that is the underlying me, basically. That's me. I have a huge heart. I love helping. And it's not to say that I like to help everybody every day or anything like that, or that I'm perfect with it, but that is underlying many of my choices, and that lays the foundation. But beyond that, something else that happened in my life growing up was my parents are immigrants. They came from Barbados, and then they had me here.
Rihanna? So, no, I'm playing.
Oh, yeah. And so with that experience of having parents who are coming here for a goal and focus on that goal and then have goals for you, you're going through life, or I should say I was going through life trying to reach and attain and not always having all of the information that I could have had. And so that's part of why I do what I do, just in terms of like the blog and trying to get a new podcast, IRX, up. I'm trying to give people information before they struggle through it so that they can correct earlier and more often.
And that's why I'm so excited to have you on the show, because that's my mission as well, just in the corporate space. I'm trying to take all the things I learned the hard way and trying to help those people say, hey, you don't have to mess up. You can do better than me. So I appreciate you for that. So was there a defining moment in like your childhood or your young adulthood where you knew you had an entrepreneurial spirit?
I can't say that there was, because I was a more shy child, and I equated entrepreneurialism. Once I was a little bit older, I equated entrepreneurialism with sales. And it was just kind of this limiting belief that I put on myself, or that I put on the concept that to be an entrepreneur, you had to be outgoing and you had to network and all those things that people say about marketing and like getting in people's faces. That's how I viewed entrepreneurship. And it wasn't until later that I realized that that's not quite what you need at all times of the day. And there is a place for that, but it's not always or only what you need. There's no limit on your personality or the personality that can make it work. But I will say that my parents worked, especially the men in my life, worked multiple types of jobs. So my stepdad worked for the MBTA in Boston, and then he was a DJ on the side. And my biological father worked at MIT as an accountant, and he also does taxes on the side. So I did see having a side hustle as being something that was normal.
Oh, that's cool. But then what was it that made you realize that you had this limiting belief? And then how did you work to overcome that?
For me, I always knew my limitations. I knew that I was shy. I didn't quite like public speaking because it would make me nervous. These things that no longer apply to me. And so that's one thing that you can get over, whatever you feel is holding you back or whatever you feel is one of your weaknesses. They are merely weaknesses that it basically means you need to work on it. And with working on it, you can make them into strength. So that was something that I learned along the way. But I will say that going through a divorce is something that I talk about sometimes. And that was more of a wake-up call for me. And it was a reaffirmation of my independence. I would not say that I lost myself in my marriage or anything like that. That's so dramatic and cliche. But I will say that I relaxed. I went from being this immigrant daughter, pursuing high goals. I was working at a top 4 public accounting firm. I was trying to become a nurse eventually and all these things. And I had my daughter, and then I became comfortable depending on someone else, not outwardly depending on them, but just I became comfortable. And when I eventually did go through that divorce, it made me awake. It awoken me, the old me. And I then realized just in that time of reflection that I had started to slip into a comfort level that was a privilege that I didn't want to acknowledge.
I think a lot of us get lulled into a sense of complacency sometimes, even though that's not what we want for our lives. I think humans are built to take the path of least resistance. And so it takes some gumption to change your pattern of behavior and try to strive for something more, to, plug into the ambition you have inside you and go for it. And it sounds like you hit a moment in your life that sparked that ambition again and gave you a reason to believe in yourself to go after something. And I'm hoping that this podcast could be that spark. This episode could be that spark, and not something as life-altering as a divorce or another type of loss, like a death or a loss of employment. Like, I'm hoping that people right where they are, where even though they're comfortable today, that they hear your voice and say, oh, I could do this, or I could do something too. That's my goal.
Yeah, and that is a wonderful goal, because that is definitely a less painful place to start from. And you can really get some traction if you are starting from a place where you're using your own internal motivation versus a negative or a difficulty. You can take your time and it doesn't feel so stressed and overwhelming.
Is there anything that you learned from your parents being immigrants that also sparked something? Was there something verbally they told you, or was it all learning by just watching how they move through a new country, a new environment, a new world, new people?
Well, in being the child of an immigrant, in my experience, you have to decide on so many levels what your culture is, and therefore what parts of your environment you're going to act on, accept, reject. And so I actually think in some ways that gives you, I guess you could look at it as a difficulty, but you could also look at it as like your first foray into creating your environment. And in entrepreneurship, there's a lot of creation that comes out. And so I guess during your childhood and during my childhood and growing up, I was creating bits and pieces of what I wanted to reflect as myself. And I think that has actually helped me today as I build businesses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I like that you're building multiple businesses. What do you have against the lice? What did the lice do to you, Timika? They just trying to live. And do Black people even get lice? And I know that's an ignorant question, but I know people are asking that. So that's why I'm asking it. Let's be clear. So can you clarify some things about lice and the lice business for us?
Okay, let's go into it for just a minute. So everybody can get lice. I have my own theories about why African-American people maybe have less or had in the past less cases of lice, but I don't have any research to support that.
Okay.
What I find now is that we treat all ethnic backgrounds, men, women, moms, people who've never gotten lice, have children, and then they get lice. So it's not about being dirty. It's about being in contact with other people. And so you'd find very outgoing people who like to hug. Kids who are popular will get lice because so many people are around them and love them, hug them, and want to share tablets and books and things with them where their shoulders are touching and their hair is touching. Those are the people who get lice. So I always tell the kids when they're in the chair that if you have lice, that means that people like you. It means that people are around you and that you're around others. With that said, anyone can get lice. They do tend to stick with a certain blood type because they bite you and then they'll go on to someone else and then they'll bite another scalp. It doesn't draw much blood, but they do bite you. And they're very scent driven. So having some peppermint, some tea tree oil, different scents, lavender, they don't necessarily like that, or it actually masks whether another bug has bit you or not. So they're just different things. But yes, I've treated white people, Black people, Asian people, Spanish, Latino people, everybody. I've treated Indian people in the Lice Clinic. It's everywhere. I don't have anything against them except that they are a parasite.
Right. Well, I personally don't like bugs of any kind. And I live out in the country. And so I have a rule. If you come in my house, you have to die. And I understand that they built my house on your turf. I understand it used to be your turf. But the way that Mr. Cooper is set up, this is my turf now. And because I have to pay Mr. Cooper every month, you gonna die if you come inside.
Oh, no.
Now, if you stay outside, you get to live. But you come inside, you're gonna die. And that's just my rule for my house. And PETA, y'all can come after me if you want to. I don't care. But don't come after Timika about the lice because lice are dirty and nasty to me. Even though you don't have to be filthy to get them, I just feel like because they're parasites, they're just, ugh. So
you want to get rid of them quickly. Yes, definitely.
Yes.
And they don't make me itch anymore. If I see somebody with lice, it doesn't make me itch. But as a school nurse, it made me just like, ugh. So that's where I learned about having a lice treatment center. That's where I learned about a lice clinic. And that's where the seed was planted that eventually grew into me owning one of my own.
That's amazing. And so it's just an extension of what you're already passionate about, which is, helping kids as a school nurse, right?
I mean, don't get it twisted. I don't want to be known as the lice queen, but it is an extension of that. So, I have a friend and she is thinking about opening a State Farm agency. And one of the things that I mentioned was is that really what you want to do? Or are you just going for the experience because they give you some guidance and everything? And I think that with the Lice Clinic, I love the fact that I was helping people through this clinic, but I equally love the fact that it was a licensed territory and there was a Facebook group that I could ask people questions, and it was my first brick and mortar business. So I equally liked that I would have a little bit of guidance in terms of people to bounce things off of. And I think for your first business, or for your first of many businesses, or maybe just in general, that might be something you need to know about yourself. You need that. For a future business, I have other ideas that are related to helping kids with podcasts, helping kids with different things like that, websites that are more related to something that I would like to be known as versus something that was helpful to others and a good step to take to help me get into business ownership. So yeah, I would say it's a little bit of both. Okay. But I can tell you when somebody's in my chair and I actually help them, which doesn't happen as much anymore because I don't actually go in to do the treatments as much. But when people were in the chair and I could talk to the moms and send the kids home with the dads so that they have to wash the hair and all that kind of stuff, I like that part of it. I like the connection. I like helping, and I like that people come in feeling crazy and leave feeling comfortable.
That's amazing. I think there's a good nugget there around when you're looking at going into entrepreneurship, anyone, mom or not mom, you need to evaluate like your strengths, your weaknesses, what support system do you have? And also, what do you want to be known for? What do you want to grow into long term? So it's not just looking short term, but it's also looking long term. And I think that's really important. Okay, so now I want to talk about your day-to-day because you got 50 children, because you got your own kids, and then you got the kids at the schools, and you work at more than one school. You work for the school district. Is that correct?
Yes. So I work at 2 schools.
Okay. So how do you get the energy to get everything done? Like, what gives you energy?
There are things that give me energy. What are those things? My own kids give me a lot of energy. I don't know where they came from. They are different than me, but they're also similar. So they can make me laugh. My kids they're just so funny. They're so nice. They're like actually truly nice people. And I don't know, they give me energy. So spending time with them on the weekends gives me energy for the week. I look forward to a Friday because I know every weekend is really, really very good. Other things that give me energy are like generating my own energy by identifying what makes me the most happy. My friends, my college friends, restore. They are restorative. So at different points in the year, I'll go down to DC, Virginia, Maryland, and be with them, like spending a Christmas there or spending a summer week there. And I speak to them all the time. And they make me laugh. They ask me about the business. They help me think through things. And that is restorative to me. And then there are different things that I dabble in when I can work it into my schedule that are more restorative. Like this week, or the last 2 weeks I've been doing this. It's on Amazon Prime. It's the Couch to Confidence yoga series. It's 14 days. I'm on day 12 of it. And I have done it every single day. So I'm very proud of myself so far. But that's something where I used to, when I had more time and I was in better shape before the kids, do Bikram yoga sometimes, pretty often actually. And so that has gotten me back in touch with things that I love. I love dance and I love yoga. I invite everybody, just do this Couch to 15 day, and don't be afraid by day 5 and day 11 because she opens up in a split and also in a headstand. Just do it. Yeah, I know you have Amazon Prime. Just do it.
I'm going to try it. I'm going to try it, and I'm going to report back to y'all next month and see how
when you're
I
doing
do.
your full split.
Right. Which I used to be able to do a split, but I don't, these knees.
Oh, wow. Okay. You just have to find those things that really make you actually relax your body. If it's reading, if it's dancing, if it's you know, a lot of this entrepreneurialism is self-exploration. If it's podcasting, you know, find the outlets and make sure that you build them into your life. And they say the same thing about like being in a relationship and making time for your significant other. Sometimes you do need to plan these things because you believe in the relationship or you believe in the restorative properties of your need for self-care and that type of thing. You have to make time for those things that you know bring you true happiness.
So then how do you create the right balance in making time for you, your husband, child 1, 2, and 3? How do you do that? Do you have a plan? Do you have a system?
Well, a lot of our life goes in a flow. So in case you don't know, anyone who's listening, I have a child, Reagan, from a previous marriage, and my husband, Ryan, has a child, Caden, from a previous marriage. I have a girl, he had a boy. And they met when they were 4 and 5, I think. 5 and 6, 4 and 5. They're 10, Reagan's almost 11, and 12. And Caden will be 13 this year. So they're right at the same age. And together, Ryan and I had a son, Gabriel, who is just amazing. He'll be 5 this year. So when we were putting things together, we did get them on the same schedule. So this is one of those weekends where Reagan's with her dad, Caden's with his mom, and Gabriel is with my parents.
I see now.
Yeah, so I picked him up from school and I sent him over there. Sometimes we do get that type of time. Sometimes we don't. If he doesn't want to go, he's with us, and that is fine. We have days where we're just with him, so he gets a lot of time with us as both parents. So that's kind of one of the flows that I have to manage. One weekend we are a full house and during the week. And then one weekend we get some time together, at least one of the days. So then there's the flow of being a school nurse. So there are weeks that I have off, and then there's the end of the school year where I have the whole summer off. And I know at the beginning of the year there's a push, and I know that during certain times there are other pushes. And because I've been doing it so long, I know when that time is going to come up, and I plan around that. With the clinic, the summers are more intense. And luckily, that's when I have time off. If I need to hop in and work and help, I can do that. The parts that I have to work hard to balance are my projects. So a podcast or a website that has a blog. You know, I have to make sure I make the time for that and build it in. And also my kids' schedule. Those schedules are changing. Once they get to a certain age, they start doing AAU and all these other things that really take up your time. And that's new for us. And we're still adjusting to that.
But somehow you make it work.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely takes a village. Like I said, my mom has Gabriel and my mom and my dad, and they really look forward to him. And because we want them to look forward to having him, we do not send him until we have that weekend off. So they kind of have to wait, and it builds up some demand to have him there.
They're like, where my baby?
Yes.
I love it. Grandparents are everything, man.
They are.
So, Timika, do you ever get overwhelmed?
Yep.
And
absolutely.
So what practices have you implemented to handle stress and the feeling, the pressures of doing it all?
Well, my sister led a 100-day self-love, self-care challenge. And so whenever I see something like that, when other people are doing the work and I know that I'll have some momentum because of their energy, I try to join in. That's one of the things I do. And that helps you to have some outlets to discuss your anxiety or overwhelm, which everybody experiences. And other things, I there is a book that I read called Drop the Ball. It's by Tiffany Dufu, D-U-F-U.
Mm-hmm.
And it talks about the transitions that we go through from when it's just us and it's just one job and we're super highly successful and super high achievers to when you add in more levels of management. So you add in a child, or you add in a business, or you add in a husband, or you add in these other different things that you have to kind of throw up in the air and juggle.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you do need to just drop the ball and be okay with it. And that's something that I firmly believe in. And, I think there was a vacation week that I was supposed to do all this stuff. I was going to launch this and I was going to post that. And I ended up doing absolutely nothing except for Game of Thrones.
Yes.
So,
yes.
all week long. So
that's okay. Yeah. That's self-care.
It is. Some Aria and some Sansa. Yes, it is. It's self-care.
Yes. So how do you ask for help? Because clearly, like you mentioned before, it takes a village, right? And so you've created a tribe with your husband and your kids. And, the great thing is you have a blended family. So there's other parents that get to come in. But how do you keep all those connections going and people stay at peace? Any advice on that?
Yeah, I am very thoughtful about that because I don't actually like to ask for help. So when I do ask for help, I've thought of pain points. And I don't know that people actually need me to think of their pain points that they might have to deal with if they accept helping me, but I think of those. So even if I'm sending my son with his friend from school to go to the zoo, which they did last weekend, I send snacks. I try to think through, okay, what are they going to need? Da, 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 da. And so that makes me feel more comfortable asking for help.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing is, thinking through what you're asking for and prepping for it and actually making it as easy as possible on the person that you're asking for if you're a person that has a hard time asking for help. For my business, one thing I did before I took on the business was, number one, I spoke to my family and kind of set some expectations for them. And I spoke to my husband and my kids and set different expectations or tested expectations surrounding the business with them. So I would describe leaving, what if somebody calls for the clinic at 7? Would I go? Would I not go? Would you be okay putting the kids to sleep? You might have to do this sometimes. Is that okay with you? I went through all of those types of scenarios to see if this was the right time for all of us, mainly me and him, but everyone, if this was a good time to start something.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other part of it was, and so once I felt comfortable with my role, thinking through what I would have to give and then what they would have to give to help me, I actually went a step further and I KonMari'd my house. I KonMari'd my whole house. My friend came in and we KonMari'd the whole thing just so that my environment would, one, be inviting for me when I got home and inviting for my whole family, but also so that what I was putting onto my husband was the minimum for what he would have to handle on his own.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, just being thoughtful, thinking through the entire process, going over it and going over it again, and making sure everybody knows what to expect. And then when a few months passes and they begin to complain, acknowledging their complaints, acknowledging the stress of it all with them, and working, making a change that helps them feel like you heard them and you are trying to get back to them. And I actively did that.
Wow. And what's KonMari? What is that?
Oh, KonMari. It's K-O-N and then Marie. Her name is Marie Kondo.
Oh, you Marie Kondo'd your life.
Yes, I did.
I love her. I'll put a link. Everything you're talking about, I'll put a link in the show notes on trillinba.com so everybody can get to what you're talking about. Do you watch her show on Netflix?
I have seen her show, and I can fully relate to that show. I did a KonMari marathon with my friend. She runs For the Love of Tidy, and so she's certified. She's the first African-American female to be certified in the KonMari method, and she's in Chicago.
Oh.
Kristen. So when she was going through the certification, came to my house, flew from Chicago to Boston,
wow.
And we did the entire house from top to bottom. And when I say the house looked like when she left, it looked like when she left.
So
it is amazing.
How long did it take?
It took about 5 days.
Oh, really? But it was like solid, like 8 to 5 every day.
Yes, it was solid days. You start with clothes. You put every piece. You have to go to every room. I even had to go to my parents' house to get my clothes that I left there, like from college, just upstairs in the attic in the closet. Like you put everything and you go through and touch every item one by one. It was a lot. But we donated bags and bags and bags. We did donations. We did those no spend groups on Facebook.
No, tell us about this.
Oh, well, so there are these there's this movement, no buy groups is what they're called. And you probably have one in your town. Basically, if you have something, you post it and someone from your town will come and get it. And if they post something, you can come and get theirs. So we've gotten like an easel for the kids. We've gotten, when one of my kids wanted to do soccer, some soccer balls, things like that. People would just post, I have these soccer balls, or I have this. And so I posted like, I have this toaster, or I have this, and people came and got it that day.
Sweet.
And then part of it we donated, and that's also a write-off if you itemize your deductions.
Wow. Listen, you are dropping all kinds of nuggets, and I hope people are picking up what you are putting down.
Oh, yeah.
Before we go, though, we have to talk about this passion around financial independence. And I know a lot of people are like, duh, who doesn't want wealth? But everybody wants it, but they're not willing to do the work. So you've been willing to do the work. You've been very passionate about this, so much so that you have a blog and you have a podcast around this topic. So can you share this story of what led you on the journey to financial independence?
I think that being in the home that I was raised in, I knew about saving. But that same concept of still feeling a little bit ignorant, or just like you don't know, you don't have all of the information because of whatever reason, was still gnawing at me. I like to know what I should be doing or where I should be at certain ages to just be able to succeed. And that's kind of how my brain works. Financial independence gives you, in my opinion, full options. So one of the things that I want to do in the future is when I get to a certain number of years within the district, I want to take a year off. And so financial independence is something that I am pursuing so that when I get to that point, I take a year off where I just don't work in the middle of everything. I just stop. So for me, financial independence means choices and options. It means stability, and it means allowing my kids to pursue the things that they want to do that I didn't get to do. It also means potentially retiring early, which is something that I'm not sure I'm going to do. But I want the option when the time comes. So for me, I save quite a bit of my income. I save close to 50%. That took a long time. It took me paying off my student loans. It took me reducing my spending, letting go of cable, and living off of Netflix and Amazon Prime videos. It took not eating out, which was costing me and my family hundreds of dollars a month. And when you start to take that away and just say, okay, I don't need to really be eating multiple times out. I could just do it once, make sure it counts. I could even eat instead of spending $400, $500, $800 in a month, I could do $100 meal on a Friday that's really good and still come out better than spending 20, 30, 40, 50 at wherever that's lesser. So just like thinking it through and finding ways to cut and then sticking to that allows you to then take that money that you were spending and then put away an extra $300 a month, an extra $500 a month, and you keep adding it all up and it comes out to quite a bit every month. And it leads you to financial independence because over time it grows.
So can you share some tips about managing your full-time job and your side hustle? Like, did you ever have any conflicts of interest, or did you think those things through before you started? Like, what was your thought process around that?
Yeah, so I did a lot of the work outside of work. I quickly got rid of my phone when I realized that people were calling me at all hours, and I didn't feel completely comfortable answering my phone. Even though I'm in my own office at work at the schools, I didn't feel comfortable answering the phone. And like, what if a child walks in, or what if a parent walks in and I have to say, hold on to the person who's trying to make an appointment. So I quickly got rid of the phone very, very soon and had someone answering the phones. So those types of conflicts of interest, I am definitely aware of. I personally don't market or advertise that I have this Lice clinic in an outward, like very dramatic way. I had my car wrapped, my vehicle, and so it said it on it, but I never, so if a teacher or someone was walking by and they saw me getting into this car, they see that it says that, but I didn't go to the principals and say, I have this business and I want to send all of the kids there from this school or anything like that. I don't push it on to anyone. I actually don't feel comfortable talking about it too much at work, unless someone asks me directly, and I'll tell them about Lice, or I'll tell them I have they can go to this website to learn more, but I don't push it. Those are the types of conflict of interest items that I didn't legally see if they were, but I don't feel comfortable crossing any lines. And so it's very passive.
Has anybody said anything that wasn't positive, or?
No.
Okay.
Nope. My principals know that I have it. They've asked if I can help. And I'm the one who has the, the limitation there, because I just want to make sure that everything is fair and good. So I'm the one who will say, well, you can call and speak to Sarah is the one who has my phone. You can call and speak to Sarah, and she can give you all the information and, let you know what all the pricing is, and we'd be happy to help. But I defer it, definitely. They know, though. They know, and they do what they feel is right.
Awesome. And so what advice would you give to any moms as they are looking at a side hustle while they have a full-time job?
So I would first look at your current schedule and how much work you bring home. What is the true number of hours that you have to work in order to keep that first job and that bulk of your money? Because at the beginning, you may need to use that money. You want to make sure that you protect that income source or that cash flow. Then I would find something that works within the remainder of the hours while still allowing you to reach your goals as a mom or as a wife. So if you want to make sure that you put your kids to sleep, then you know that your time is truncated on one side or the other. If you get home at 5 and they need to go to sleep by 8, be very realistic about, okay, am I going to work after that time, or am I going to be able to squeeze in a few hours every night? So time is the first thing. What is your availability? And then how many of those available hours do you want to spend in the house doing something else, or out of the house doing something else? And just be really realistic, and then try to find something that fits. Because that's the only way you're going to be able to, it's definitely a marathon, and that's the only way you're going to be able to maintain it to the point where it can be a successful and hopefully independent business, is that you have to put in those first months, year, however long of hours, it has to be sustainable for you.
Those are good nuggets. One thing I've started working on is getting transcripts of the episodes and have them as a special to give to listeners who sign up for our safe space. So definitely, I'm going to make sure that I feature all of your nuggets in a nice written format, because those are some great tips for people to go into this. So Timika, I really appreciate this, because I know there's a lot of people celebrating Mother's Day today, and they're probably spending a lot of money on their moms, eating out, And so it's inspiring to see that you're someone in a world where everybody says, oh, I'm so busy, I don't really have time. And I'm like, no, that's not a good excuse. You don't want to make time. And you're definitely somebody who makes the time. You're a wife, a mother, a full-time career woman, an entrepreneur, a podcaster, public speaker. Like, you have overcome any limiting beliefs you have, and you have taken a chance on yourself, and it is paying off. And so with that, I want people to know, like, if Timika Downs can do this, then you can do it too.
Yes, absolutely. That's like this country girl. Yes, I get it. That's what you did.
So before we get out of here, are there any parting words of advice that you want to share with our listeners today?
Yes. I know that sometimes when you're listening, because I've done it myself, I know that as soon as someone says, oh, they have grandparents that are living nearby, or as soon as someone says she knew about Lice because of her job and that's how she found this business, as soon as they say something that you feel you don't have access to, you can turn off your mind to it. But that's not the point. The point of Trill MBA, the point of this podcast, the point of what I'm saying is that you truly need to, it's more an act of being creative and finding one of the many thousands of things that you can do to create a new life for yourself and to impact the life that you have right now. So if some parts of my story don't resonate because you don't have that particular privilege or that particular thing, more so focus on the privilege that you do have in your life, because we all have something that is that is unique to us and that we can use to take a step in the right direction.
Amen. Timika, how can my listeners connect with you? Please tell the people how to find you.
So I blog at reluctantfrugalist.com, and I'm launching the RX podcast pretty soon. I have a few episodes that are coming out. I'm also found on Facebook, reluctantfrugalist.com, and on Twitter.
Awesome sauce. I'm so excited. I want everybody to go visit the blog. When the podcast comes out, definitely we'll let you guys know. Can you give me an exclusive, Timika? Do you have a date?
Oh, yeah. Yes, it should be out in the next couple of weeks. In the first few episodes, so one will be just an intro episode, one will be my story, and one will be an episode with Aja, who talks about her daughter, who was in the Kevin Hart Black History Month Netflix special, and how you can get your kids into the money-making world of TV, print media, radio, voiceovers, and really how much do you make?
Oh, I can't wait to hear that. So
yeah,
we will definitely keep you posted. I'm excited to hear your podcast. I'm excited that you are out here in the world doing your thing. And, you've been featured on a couple podcasts. You've been on Side Hustle Pro that I know of for sure, but then I saw some other ones out there. So thank you for coming on my podcast and dropping these nuggets for my listeners. I super appreciate you.
Well, thank you for having me, and definitely have a great, happy Mother's Day, everybody.
Yay. And as always, you guys, if you need some help or advice about a specific work situation, go to trillandba.com/coaching to schedule a free 30-minute consultation with me to strategize and walk through your specific work situation. So like if you want to start a side hustle and you know your boss is crazy and then they find out about it, that's when you hit me up if you're having issues and you need to wordsmith and figure out how to smooth things over or how to make an exit strategy. That's what I'm good at. You can also hit me up at ask@trillandba.com. I'm always happy to answer your questions or connect you to the right person if I don't have the answer. So like if you email me about some lice, I'm going to connect you to Timika. All right. All right, you guys, have a great Mother's Day. Have a great week. And I will hit you up next Sunday. And until then, keep it trill. The Trill MBA Show is a Fair World Corp LLC production. Executive produced by Felicia and Rose Enuha. Music is Kick Push by Ryan Little. Keep it trill every day, y'all.